Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to Mary's Monday Musings. Gonna wait and let a few people get on. Somebody's popped on. Let me see if I can swipe left so I can see comments. There's Rosemary. Hi. So I was happy the rain finally stopped and it ended up being a beautiful afternoon. So that was really nice. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Do me a favor. If you are watching on the replay, would you type number 2 in the comments for me just so I know that you've caught the replay? And if you're on live, give me a thumbs up. Rosemary, you were already a step ahead of me, weren't you? That would be great. I'm going to just see if I can... No, that's not what I wanted to do. Do me a favor, if you all would like to, if you know of anybody that you think might enjoy this, please go ahead and invite them. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for tuning in. As I said, the topic is going to be adventure, but it's not really, I don't think, what you had in mind. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. I'll just wait a couple more minutes. Yeah, so it was super, super hot this weekend here. And today it was like the Arctic. Oh, hi, Danita. How nice of you to join in. Thank you. So, Cynthia, what was the weather like there in Tennessee? You having fall weather, summer? Hi, Angela. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. So, I kind of got to thinking today about something. I actually wasn't sure what my topic was going to be tonight until this afternoon. And I was actually out of the office a lot of the day at meetings with one of the project managers that I work with. And when I got back to the office, my boss called me and said, well, so we've decided that we want you to come to Atlanta next month for a retreat that some of the team is having, and a day of training first ahead of time and then a retreat. I thought, okay, oh, that sounds like fun. You know, I was really excited. He said, yeah, so there's a direct flight into Atlanta from Richmond. And then he said, the way I suggest you get to the hotel is that you come out of the main entrance to the airport, cross the street, get on the metro, ride the metro all the way to the end of the metro, then get an Uber to the hotel. And I'm thinking, holy moly, I have never been outside the Atlanta airport. I've been through Atlanta a lot from going home. So my immediate response, my old response, was I started to panic a little bit, already telling myself how awful this whole experience was going to be, and you know how I wasn't going to be able to do it, and oh my gosh. And so I just took a breath, and so I asked one of the fellows that works with me who had traveled down there, and he made a couple suggestions, and one of the other managers in the area said, oh, I used to live in Atlanta. He said, when are you going? And he pulled up a map of the metro station and then a map of the lines and helped me figure out which metro line I needed to get on. And, so it really alleviated a lot of my anxiety. And I shared with one of the coworkers, I don't know if he even wanted to know this or not, that I was never one of those people who would just get up and go somewhere without a plan. I always had a list ahead of time. I had a list to take with me. I had maps. I had plans. I had emergency contact numbers. It always became a big production anytime I went anywhere. And then in February, I was invited on a retreat to go to Orlando with only one detail, and that was fly to Orlando and meet everyone at this address at, I don't know what time it was at night, 5 o'clock at night. And that was all we had. And I know I was not the only one because I was in a Facebook group. We were kind of panicking because a lot of us had never done anything like that. Come to find out, I think most of us were planners. I would even venture to say control freaks, a little bit, speaking for myself. But since then, I've done some adventurous things involving travel that I never probably would have had the courage to do had I not done that. It turned out to be fabulous. The whole experience turned out to be life-changing, and I've shared some of that, and I'll continue to share some in the future. But it got me to thinking about how a lot of our lives, I think, we spend in fear. Yeah, Cynthia, I know it was so great. I'm so glad you could be there with me, and Barbara too. How many things, do we miss out on because we're afraid of what might happen? The first thing I thought of is, well, how am I going to know what metro station to get off of? And what if I go too far? And, and it's like, so what? So I get on the metro going the other way and go back where I need to go. And as it turns out, this manager said, if you do get on the wrong one, here's your last chance to switch over to the other color line. It was like, it's not, a third world country somewhere where if I miss the bus, it's going to be 3 days before I have another way to get anywhere. So it's all going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be fun. And we don't have to just travel to have adventures. An adventure can be trying something new, learning something new. It can be like maybe you decide you're going to go back to college and get your degree. Or maybe you're going to, learn to knit. I don't know, anything, Maybe you're going to, starting a new way of life can be an adventure. And I wonder how many adventures do we miss out on because we're just afraid. But I thought about how God made us to be adventurous. And I think sometimes life steals that from us. Think about all the adventures in the Bible. Jesus walked on water. Think of his whole mission on earth. The 3 years that he was on earth, he went everywhere. He did everything. He wasn't afraid. He met all kinds of people, and Simon walking on the water, he encouraged him to come out of the boat. Don't stay in the boat. Walk to me. And when he did it, he walked on the water. It's when he got afraid that he sank, when he failed, when the adventure wasn't so much fun anymore. But had he trusted in the adventure and trusted that Jesus was going to get him through it and would never mean him any harm, who knows where he could have walked. So that's one example. Think about Moses. What an adventurous life he had. And he was just, he was just a simple shepherd. Think of all the things that he did. And he protested. He was not a willing adventurer by any stretch of the imagination, and God just kept challenging him. He led the Israelites out of Egypt, water parted, manna in the desert, all of that. What an adventure. That was a 40-year adventure that he led the Israelites on. And every step of the way, when they got afraid that he wasn't with them anymore, it was the cloud that led them where they needed to go, and was always with them to reassure them. And so, if you think about it, we really are made to be adventurous. And I don't know where along the way we became afraid to do that. I see Helen's hopped on. I'm going to single you out. I'm always so impressed with your travel adventures because you just decide you're going to go somewhere, and of course you plan, but you just go and you do it, and you take fantastic pictures and have wonderful experiences, and that's so inspirational to me. And you know, people start nonprofits and you know, do all kinds of things that I guess the world might think are very adventurous and scary, and sometimes we think they're scary and we do them anyway. But in Jeremiah, we read in chapter 33, verse 3, is call to me and I will answer you, and I will tell you great and mighty things which you do not know. That's what God wants us to experience. He wants us to learn the great and mighty things that we could never know without Him imparting that knowledge into us. And I think it's the adventure of faith that makes all of that learning possible. And that makes faith pretty exciting when you think about it that way, I think. You know, so I don't know. Can you all think of any other adventures that, you know, the Bible tells us about? Even just think about Jesus inviting the apostles on the great adventure of following Him. They threw down their nets, they left their families, and they took off on the great adventure with Him because it was just too enticing and He was just too engaging for them to take a chance on not doing it. And think of how history would be different and how the world would have changed. So I'm learning to be brave. I'm learning to take adventures, to be an adult and do things that I've never done before. And every time I do one of those things, it's easier the next time. So I think adventure can also be a learned thing if we maybe start with something small and build up to a larger, a bigger thing, something a little bit more scary. You know, you go on the little kiddie roller coaster, and then the next time you go on one that just goes around, and then maybe you go on one that has a couple hills. I'll use that analogy. So I challenge you this week to think of an adventure that you have been afraid to take. Think of an adventure that you were afraid to embark on and start making a plan to do it. I'd love for you to let me know. You can message me and let me know how it turned out. And I'll let you know how my Atlanta trip turns out. It's the first week in November, so it's going to be a while. But I hope that you will have an adventurous week and that you will encourage others to be adventurous. And tune in next week to share in my Monday musings. God has really been speaking to me lately, and I've got a lot of notes that I'll be expanding upon in the weeks to come. So you all have a good night, have a great week, and I can't wait to hear about your adventures.